Hi, today we're going to look at setting up your information about your library systems and your locations. This might look a little bit different depending on what permissions you have within Aspen. So if you want access to something that you see me doing today, please reach out to your Aspen administration team at your library level to request a specific permission or ask about getting access to a specific permission. So to get into the first group of settings, we're going to go into our Aspen administration menu. And we're going to look within the primary configuration module. That's right here. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the library system settings. So how I think about the library system settings are, if you're in a consortium, for example, each scoped catalog or each individual URL for your catalog will have its own library system. So mainlibrary.org is one library system. And then if the East Central Library has a separate library system, they would have eastcentral.org. So basically like each individual site or catalog that you have customized will have its own library system. For some libraries, this might look like having a separate kids catalog, so they would have a separate library system. Then we also have locations. So locations can be your bookmobile or your individual branches within a system. Maybe you have your main library system and that contains 4 locations. So you have an East branch, a West branch, a South branch, and then a bookmobile. So each of those would have their own different location or piece of that bigger library system. Let's first look into the library system settings. So I'm going to click into here and just show you a few of the different settings for customization. So the first thing I want to show you is this basic display. So within basic display, you just want to make sure that the home link that you have set up is going to your library website. Where this link appears or shows up within Aspen is within the hamburger menu up here. So this little side menu with the 3 dashes, if you click on here, once you put that URL into your library website, there's a library homepage link that automatically populates. And then here we have the contact links section. So this is where you want to connect all of those social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Instagram. There's a link option for Pinterest, Goodreads, TikTok. You can even put, like if you have a contact us page or something on your library website, you could put that URL here. Once these are filled out, all the way at the bottom of your footer throughout all of your pages. It's kind of hard to see on here because I have some other buttons, but these will automatically just populate the icons. And then when I click on them, it will take me out to the social media links that you've put in here. So that's the contact link section. Within the ILS account integration section, this is when you're configuring really everything to do with the patron account and the connection between the Aspen and your ILS. Here is where we are enabling things like reading history or saved searches, or we're also configuring things within the user profile that folks are able to change. So are they able to update their phone number, their home library, their address? Are they allowed to set up a username? I'm not going to go through all these settings here. We usually go through these with you during implementation or with your admin team during implementation. Just know that this is the section where if you're looking for something to change or update within mainly the patron account, this ILS account integration section is where you're going to want to look. All right, let's keep going down a little bit farther. And let's talk about holidays. So if you are using the Koha ILS, we strongly suggest that you go within your staff interface in Koha, you go into tools and then calendar and set up those holidays here. How Aspen uses holidays is really just for patron messaging. So I just added one for today for January 4th, and I put super special holiday. So let's see where this shows up in the patron account. And I'm going to go into the checkouts. And if you can see right here, it says main branch is closed today for super special holidays. Where in your ILS, you're using those calendar dates or holiday dates, typically to control, say, you wouldn't want to hold to go expire on that holiday because you're closed, or you wouldn't want to make a due date the same date as a holiday, again, because you're closed. Within Aspen, it really just has to do with this patron messaging. So I will see this notice about the holiday closure within both my checkouts and my holds account. The idea being, the patron sees that they have this hold ready to go pick up and they're very excited about it. And then they look and they say, oh, the library is closed today for Memorial Day or, July 4th or whatever it is. Again, for Koha, it's probably best just to fill out the calendar within Koha. Aspen will start to pull those in after typically like an overnight index or after a full reindex. If you're using another ILS, you can just go ahead and click add new. You can select the date, and then you can add the holiday name that shows up in that messaging. Okay, so let's take a look now at some of your location settings. So depending on how many locations you're managing or you're configuring, you might have to do several of these. So again, in the example of your library system that you manage has, let's say, 3 or 4 branches, you would want to go in and make sure that everything was correctly configured for each of those locations. Let's click into locations. And in this case, let's just look at our main branch. Okay, this code here, I just want to point out, this code is coming directly in from your ILS. So typically you would not want to change this. And then the display name you can change. So if you go by a town name instead, or a memorial type name instead, or maybe your ILS is configured to a different name than your patrons actually know it as, you can change the display name within Aspen for that location. Another thing, especially if you're managing multiple locations and let's say have something like a storage location or a bookmobile location, or maybe just another location, like maybe you have it configured or a drive-through as a location. Maybe you wouldn't want that to show up in certain parts of your catalog. We have this show and locations and hours list here. What that means is that once this information is filled in, that the information about this branch will show up in this side menu again under library hours and locations. So when I click on this, it's going to have a drop down of all my library locations that I've said I want to show here. So I have an East branch, a Main branch, I have a North branch, South branch in this case, and West branch. If I didn't want one of these to show here, all I would have to do is go into uncheck the show in locations and hours list. This is an immediate change. So once you do that, it'll just go away after you refresh your screen. Another thing is that if you have multiple branch locations, so in this example, I have main branch, I would also want to check here that this is the main branch. What this does is it will, once I save, it will sort these locations. What this will do in that case is that it will change this sort here from an alphabetical sort where East would be at the top to where the main branch is first. This also helps control some of your results for the main library, or what you're designating as the main branch will show first within your catalog. Now here you want to fill out some additional information about your location. So things like your address, put in your phone number, your email address. You can skip all this other like address, latitude, longitude. A lot of this is going to be used for the Aspen Lida app, but this will all just automatically fill in. Another great thing that you can do here is that you can put in a description of your library. What's really nice is that you can also put in an image. So maybe you have, let's say for the bookmobile example, you want to put in an image of your bookmobile and you have some more information about those services. Maybe you have like a little chart or calendar with those hours. You can put that all in here within this box. Then again, it'll show up in that drop-down menu related to your location information. I'm going to scroll down a little bit farther. And another thing of note that you want to set up are your hours. Just like our holidays that we looked at, our hours just really show up with messaging. If I'm closed on Sunday, I want to make sure that I click close on Sunday so that when a patron logs into their account, they'll see within their checkouts and their holds that the library is closed today. It'll also say the next time the library is open. So if I'm closed Sunday and Monday, it'll say the library is closed today and the library will reopen on Tuesday and then you can go ahead and put in your hours. So this is military time. So if you open from 10 to 5 every other day, you can just go ahead and put that in. And if there's anything special about those hours or those services on that day, you can go ahead and put that in next to it. So let's say, you offer curbside on Tuesdays, or you have a bloodmobile on site on Wednesdays. And you just want to put a little special notation about that day of the week and those hours. You can definitely do that here in notes. So let's go ahead and save and go over to my side menu. And all this information will be automatically updated. I have my address. I have this Google Maps integration. So now I can click right here to get my directions. I see my hours. They turned into closed, and then my hours display. And then it says I offer curbside on Tuesdays, and there's a bloodmobile on site. So that is how you customize your different information about your locations. Just another plug for our Help Center documentation at help.aspendiscovery.org. We have some information under admin and library systems and locations that goes way more in depth about all the different library systems and location settings that you have access to.